15 years of marriage, separate bedrooms, no intimacy, no children. She thought he didn't love her, until she asked for a divorce and discovered the shocking truth he'd been hiding.
I want a divorce, Cesar. This isn't a marriage, it's an arrangement.
But when she found his secret room, filled with dozens of paintings of her, spanning 15 years of silent obsession, everything changed.
I've loved you every day, Alana. I painted you because I couldn't touch you, because I was afraid I'd destroy you like I destroyed everything else.
You've been watching me and painting me for all this time.
The cold, distant millionaire had been secretly documenting every moment of their life together. But when she discovers the devastating reason behind his silence, a family tragedy that shattered his ability to love, will it be enough to save their marriage?
I kept one more secret, Alana, about the daughter we lost and the daughter you never knew existed.
Will 15 years of hidden love be enough to overcome the lies that tore them apart? And can Alana forgive the unforgivable? Or will the truth destroy them both? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you're watching from today. The golden light of Rio's sunset poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Belmonte penthouse, casting long shadows across the pristine marble floors. Alana Mendez stood at the balcony, her dark fingers gripping the glass of champagne a little too tightly. 15 years. 15 years of perfect smiles, designer dresses, and a marriage that existed only for the cameras. Tonight was their anniversary, another milestone in a journey that had taken her nowhere. Mrs. Belmonte. The housekeeper, Eleanor, approached with careful steps. The caterers would like to know when to serve dinner. Alana turned, her elegant red dress catching the light. At 29, she was still as beautiful as the day Cesar had married her, perhaps even more so. Years of quiet dignity had sculpted her features into something regal. "Tell them we'll eat at 8, as planned," she replied, her voice smooth and controlled, like everything else in her life. Eleanor nodded and disappeared. The enormous penthouse fell silent again, the kind of silence that had defined Alana's marriage. She moved to the large mirror in the hallway, checking her appearance one last time. The diamond earrings Cesar had sent that morning, delivered by his assistant, not by him, sparkled against her dark skin. The sound of the elevator announced her husband's arrival. Right on time, as always. Cesar Belmonte was nothing if not punctual. He stepped into the living room, tall and imposing in his tailored suit. At 33, he was the perfect image of success. Handsome, powerful, the heir to one of Brazil's oldest fortunes. His olive skin and dark eyes spoke of his Portuguese ancestry, a stark contrast to Alana's rich brown complexion. "Alana," he nodded, his eyes appreciative but distant, always distant. "You look beautiful." "Thank you," she replied, accepting the small gift box he extended. Another piece of jewelry, no doubt. Another expensive token to fill the space where love should be. "Happy anniversary." His voice was warm but careful, like someone afraid of breaking something fragile. She opened the box to find a stunning emerald bracelet. "It's lovely, Cesar." "Thank you." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Those eyes that never quite met hers, that always seemed to be looking at something just beyond her. "Shall we eat?" I'm sure Elena has outdone herself with the arrangements. The dining room was a masterpiece of elegant celebration. Candles flickered, champagne chilled in silver buckets, and the table was set with the fine china they'd received as a wedding gift 15 years ago. China that had been used perhaps a dozen times, for dinners just like this one, performances of marital bliss. They sat across from each other, Cesar at the head of the table, Alana to his right. The first course arrived, some delicate seafood creation that Alana barely tasted. "The Torres merger went through today," Cesar said, filling the silence with business talk. "Father is pleased. It gives us controlling interest in 3 more ports." Alana nodded. "Congratulations. I saw the news alert on my phone." More silence. The second course arrived. "I saw your mother at the charity luncheon yesterday," Alana offered. "She mentioned you might take the yacht to Monaco next month." Cesar sipped his wine. "Perhaps. There's a banking conference I should attend." The polite conversation continued, each topic safe and impersonal, just as it had been for 15 years, just as it would be for 15 more, if nothing changed. But tonight, something had shifted inside Alana. Perhaps it was the milestone anniversary. Perhaps it was seeing her old school friend Maria last week, now happily married with 3 children. Or perhaps it was simply that 15 years of loneliness had finally become too heavy to carry. As dessert was served, a delicate chocolate creation that neither of them would finish, Alana placed her napkin beside her plate and looked directly at her husband. "Cesar," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I want a divorce." The words hung in the air, sharp and unexpected. Cesar's hand froze midway to his wine glass. For the first time in years, he looked directly into her eyes, truly seeing her. "What?" The single word carried more emotion than she'd heard from him in a decade. "I want a divorce," she repeated, surprised at how calm she felt. "This isn't a marriage, Cesar. It's an arrangement, a business partnership, a photo opportunity. But it's not a marriage." Cesar's face paled beneath his tan. "Alana, I don't understand. Have I not provided everything? The houses, the clothes, the lifestyle? Things," she interrupted. "You've given me things, Cesar. Beautiful, expensive things. But you've never given me yourself." He looked stricken, and she pressed on before her courage failed her. 15 years, and you've never once really touched me. Your bedroom door is always locked. When we're in public, you hold my hand for the cameras, then let go the moment we're alone." Her voice finally cracked. "I don't even know who you are, Cesar. The man I live with is a stranger who sends expensive gifts but can't bear to look at me." "That's not true," he whispered, his voice rough. "That's not... You don't understand." "Then help me understand," she pleaded. "Because I can't do this anymore. I can't keep pretending." Cesar stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. For a moment, she thought he might finally open up, might finally explain. Instead, he straightened his jacket with shaking hands. "I need to go," he said, not meeting her eyes again. "I need to think." And then he was gone, leaving Alana alone at their anniversary dinner, the candles burning low as tears finally slipped down her cheeks. 3 days passed without a word from Cesar. Alana moved through the penthouse like a ghost, waiting for something. A phone call, a message, even divorce papers delivered by a lawyer. But there was nothing. On the 4th day, Elena approached her cautiously as she sat reading on the terrace. "Mrs. Belmonte, there's a call for you. It's Mrs. Isabella Belmonte, Cesar's mother." Alana steeled herself and took the phone. "Isabella, how are you?" she asked, keeping her voice neutral. "Alana." The older woman's aristocratic tone was frosty. "What have you done to my son?" Alana closed her eyes briefly. "I assume Cesar has spoken to you." "He hasn't spoken to anyone," Isabella snapped. "He's locked himself in the family's mountain house and refuses to see anyone. His father is beside himself with worry. Cesar missed the signing of the Torres contracts yesterday." Alana's heart skipped. Cesar never missed business obligations. Never. "I'm sorry to hear that," she said carefully. "But this is between Cesar and me." "Don't play innocent," Isabella hissed. "Whatever ridiculous demands you've made..." "I asked for a divorce," Alana cut in, tired of pretense. "After 15 years of a marriage in name only, I think that's hardly ridiculous." The silence on the other end was deafening. "You ungrateful girl," Isabella finally said, her voice low and dangerous. "Do you have any idea what Cesar has done for you? Taking you from that neighborhood, giving you his name, his protection, but never his love," Alana finished. "Never his trust, never himself." "Love?" Isabella let out a bitter laugh. "You wanted love? You should be grateful he married you at all. A girl from Rocinha with no family name, no connections." "I have to go," Alana interrupted, unwilling to hear more of the same prejudice that had followed her since the day she'd entered the Belmonte world. "Please tell Cesar to contact me when he's ready to discuss our future." She hung up before Isabella could respond, her hands trembling with anger and hurt. The old wounds reopened so easily, the whispers at society parties, the sidelong glances, the assumption that she should be eternally grateful that a Belmonte had stooped to marry someone like her. The truth was, Alana had never wanted Cesar's money. She'd fallen in love with the quiet, intense young man who'd visited the gallery where she worked as an assistant during university. The man who'd spent hours discussing art with her, who'd seemed to value her opinions, who'd looked at her like she was something precious. That man had disappeared almost immediately after their wedding, replaced by this distant stranger who could barely stand to be in the same room with her. Alana walked to the large windows overlooking the city, her reflection ghostly against the glass. Maybe it was time to go back to her roots, to the small apartment she'd shared with her grandmother before the old woman passed, to find the strong, independent woman she'd been before becoming Mrs. Belmonte. A week after Alana's request for a divorce, Cesar returned. She was painting in the small studio she'd created for herself, the one room in the penthouse that felt truly hers, when Elena knocked softly. "Mr. Belmonte is here to see you, ma'am." Alana put down her brush, wiping her paint-stained hands on a cloth. She hadn't expected him today, hadn't prepared what to say. "Tell him I'll be right out." She changed quickly from her paint-splattered clothes into a simple blue dress, trying to calm her racing heart. This was what she wanted, resolution one way or another. Cesar was standing by the windows when she entered the living room, his back to her. He'd lost weight in just a week, his suit hanging slightly loose on his frame. When he turned, she was shocked by the dark circles under his eyes, the haggard look on his usually composed face. "Alana," he said, his voice rough, "thank you for seeing me." "This is still your home," she replied carefully. He shook his head. "It was never my home. It was always yours. I just existed here." The admission surprised her. Cesar placed a large envelope on the coffee table between them. "The divorce papers," he said quietly. "Everything is as you'd want it, I think. The penthouse is yours, and there's a very generous settlement." Alana felt a strange hollowness. It was happening so quickly, so easily. Part of her had hoped he would fight, would give her a reason to stay. "Thank you," she said, not touching the envelope. Cesar hesitated, then placed a worn leather notebook beside the envelope. "And this is for you as well." She glanced at the notebook, puzzled. "What is it?" "Something I should have given you years ago." His hands were trembling slightly. "Alana, before you make your final decision, I'm begging you to read this. After that, if you still want me gone from your life, I'll respect your wishes and never bother you again." There was raw emotion in his voice. Fear, desperation, things she'd never heard from him before. "What is this, Cesar?" she asked again. He took a deep breath. "It's the truth. About me. About why I've been the way I've been. About why I've kept my distance." Alana picked up the notebook, feeling its worn leather, the weight of its many pages. "You could have just told me. All these years you could have explained." "I know," he whispered. "I was a coward. I've always been a coward with you." She studied his face, seeing for the first time how much pain lived behind those careful eyes. "And now I have nothing left to lose." He moved toward the door, then stopped. "Take your time. Read it all. I'll be staying at the hotel downtown. When you're ready, if you're willing, call me." And then he was gone again, leaving Alana alone with 15 years of silence, finally given voice in the pages of a worn notebook. That night, Alana sat cross-legged on her bed, the leather notebook in her lap. Part of her wanted to throw it away unread. What good were explanations now, after 15 years of emptiness? But another part, the part that had once loved Cesar deeply, needed to know. She opened the first page and recognized Cesar's neat, precise handwriting. August 17th, 2009, wedding day. "Today I married Alana. She looked more beautiful than I could have imagined, her skin glowing against the white dress, her eyes bright with hope. Hope I know I will destroy. Father and mother are pleased with the match, though for all the wrong reasons. They see her as exotic, a statement, a way to show how progressive the Belmonte family can be. They don't see what I see. Her intelligence, her quiet strength, her talent. I thought I could do this. I thought I could be what she deserves. But standing beside her today, seeing her smile up at me with such trust, I knew I had made a terrible mistake. Not in choosing her, in letting her choose me. How long before she discovers the truth? How long before she looks at me with disgust instead of love? I've already arranged for separate bedrooms." She looked hurt, but didn't question it. She thinks it's temporary, an old-fashioned gesture. She doesn't know its protection. For her, not from her. I can't risk hurting her the way I hurt Gabriella. I won't. Better she think me cold than know me broken. Alana's hands trembled. Gabriella. Cesar had never mentioned anyone named Gabriella. She flipped forward a few pages. December 3rd, 2009. Alana decorated the penthouse for Christmas today. She asked me about family traditions, and I couldn't tell her that the Belmontes don't celebrate, they perform. Perfect decorations for magazine photos, gifts selected by personal shoppers, meals catered and barely touched. Instead, I watched her hang lights and ornaments, her joy so pure it hurt to witness. Later, I heard her on the phone with her grandmother, laughing about childhood Christmases in their small apartment, how they would save all year for a special meal. I wonder what it would be like to have memories like that. Warm, real, untainted. Sometimes I hate my family for what they've taken from me, from us. Alana read for hours, moving through the years of their marriage through Cesar's eyes. His entries were sometimes daily, sometimes with gaps of weeks, but always returning to her. Observations about her painting, her kindness to the staff, her dignity in the face of his family's subtle racism, her patience with his distance. By 2 a.m. she reached an entry that made her breath catch. June 10, 2012. 3 years of marriage and I still can't bring myself to tell Alana the truth. I saw Dr. Ferreira again today. He says the nightmares might never completely stop. That trauma experienced so young becomes part of you, part of your cells. I dream of Gabriela almost every night now, my sweet little sister. She would be 25 this year, maybe married, maybe with children of her own. Instead, she's forever 12, forever broken because of me. How could I tell Alana that I'm the reason my sister is dead, that my own father paid millions to cover it up, to protect the Belmonte name, that I've been in therapy since I was 15, trying to piece together a soul that doesn't deserve repair? Tonight, Alana reached for me, just a simple touch on my arm as we said goodnight. I pulled away. I saw the hurt in her eyes, the confusion. You deserve more than I can give, I told her. It's the closest to the truth I've ever come. Alana closed the book, her cheeks wet with tears. Cesar had a sister who died, somehow because of him, a tragedy he'd never shared, pain he'd carried alone all these years. She got up, pacing the room, her mind racing. Should she continue reading? Did she want to know more of these secrets he'd kept? Yes. After 15 years of emptiness, she deserved the full truth. She returned to the notebook, reading through more years, more observations of their life together. Cesar's growing success in business, Alana's development as an artist, their travels, their separate lives lived side by side. Then she found it, an entry from 5 years into their marriage. July 23, 2014. I can't sleep again. The anniversary of Gabriela's death always brings the nightmares back stronger. 30 years, and it feels like yesterday. I was 15. Gabriela was 12. Father had taken us to the lake house, a rare family outing. Mother was in Europe. It was just the three of us. I was supposed to watch Gabriela while Father made business calls, but I was angry. Angry at being treated like a babysitter, angry at Father's constant disappointment, angry at the weight of being a Belmonte. I took the boat out without permission. Gabriela begged to come along. I said no, but she followed anyway, jumping onto the boat as I pulled away from the dock. I was furious. We argued. I was driving too fast, showing off, not paying attention. The other boat appeared suddenly. I swerved. Gabriela, who wasn't sitting down, wasn't holding on, fell overboard. She couldn't swim. I didn't know she couldn't swim. By the time I got to her, she wasn't breathing. By the time the emergency services arrived, it was too late. Father handled everything, paid off the other boaters who witnessed it, told everyone it was an accident, that we'd both been swimming and she'd gotten a cramp, created a story that absolved me of blame. But we both knew the truth. I killed my sister through my recklessness, my selfishness, and Father has used it to control me ever since. I saved you, he reminds me whenever I defy him. I protected you when you didn't deserve protection. So how could I ever touch Alana with these hands? How could I ever father children when I couldn't even keep my own sister safe? How could I risk passing on whatever darkness lives in the Belmonte blood? So, I keep my distance. I give Alana everything except myself, and I watch her smile fade a little more each year, powerless to explain, terrified of losing the only pure thing in my life. Alana closed the notebook, her heart breaking for the 15-year-old boy who'd lost his sister, for the man who'd punished himself for decades, for the husband who'd kept himself from her out of fear and shame rather than indifference. It was nearly dawn. She'd read through most of the journal, through years of Cesar's private thoughts, his silent love for her, his self-loathing, his regret. The most recent entry was from just 3 days ago, June 18th, 2024. Alana has asked for a divorce. After 15 years of my cowardice, she's finally given up on me. I can't blame her. I've given her a life of luxury, but not a moment of true intimacy. Not a single honest conversation. When she spoke those words, I want a divorce, something broke inside me. The careful walls I've built, the distance I've maintained, suddenly it all seemed pointless. What was I protecting her from? Myself? Or was I really protecting myself from the risk of her rejection? I've come to the mountain house to think, Mother called, furious that I'm neglecting my responsibilities. For once, I don't care what she or Father think. I've spent 15 years loving Alana from a distance, watching her move through life with grace and dignity despite my coldness. I've filled notebooks with words I couldn't say to her face, painted portraits of her I've hidden away, collected every article about her art exhibitions, every photograph of her in magazines. I don't deserve her forgiveness. I don't deserve a second chance. But before I let her go, I owe her the truth, all of it. Tomorrow I will give her this journal. And then, whatever she decides, I will accept it. If she wants me gone, I'll disappear from her life completely. But if there's even the smallest chance, well, no, I won't hope. Hope is dangerous. I've never deserved Alana Mendez. I never will. But for 15 years, she has been the light in my darkness, even if she never knew it. Alana closed the journal, emotionally exhausted. The sun was rising over Rio, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. She walked to the window, trying to process everything she'd learned. Cesar had loved her all along, had watched her, admired her, treasured her, from behind walls built of guilt and trauma, had denied them both the happiness they might have shared. She wasn't sure what to feel: anger at the wasted years, compassion for his suffering, relief that his distance hadn't been rejection. All of these emotions swirled inside her, leaving her confused and drained. One thing Cesar had mentioned particularly caught her attention: paintings of her that he'd hidden away. Where would he keep such things? Almost without conscious decision, Alana found herself walking down the hallway to Cesar's bedroom, the room whose door had always remained closed to her. For the first time in 15 years, she turned the handle. It opened. The large room was immaculate, minimally furnished, almost impersonal except for one stunning feature. The walls were covered in paintings, dozens of them. All of her. Alana in the garden, Alana reading by the window, Alana laughing at a party, Alana sleeping, her face peaceful. Moments from their 15 years together, captured with stunning detail and obvious devotion. She moved slowly around the room, touching the frames, recognizing moments she'd forgotten. A day at the beach years ago, a quiet afternoon on the terrace, a moment when she'd thought herself completely alone. As she touched one frame, examining the date, Cesar had meticulously dated each painting, something slipped from behind it and fluttered to the floor. An envelope. With trembling fingers, Alana picked it up and opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper with 3 handwritten words: "Forgive me, Alana." She stood in the center of a room filled with 15 years of silent love, holding the first direct communication of feeling her husband had ever offered her, and wondered what forgiveness might look like after so much time lost. Alana stood frozen in Cesar's bedroom, surrounded by paintings of herself, the note clutched in her trembling hand. "Forgive me, Alana." 3 simple words that somehow carried the weight of 15 years. She sank onto the edge of his perfectly made bed, trying to process the discoveries of the past few hours. The journal entries revealing Cesar's tragic past, the sister he'd lost, the guilt that had shaped his entire adult life. And now these paintings, dozens of them, showing her through his eyes. The Cesar she thought she knew, cold, distant, unfeeling, had never existed. Instead, there was this other man, one who had watched her, loved her, painted her with such care and devotion while keeping himself locked away. The morning light streamed through the windows as Alana examined painting after painting. There she was on their honeymoon in Capri, her face turned toward the sea. There she was gardening on the terrace, unaware of being observed. There she was sleeping, her face peaceful in repose. Some of the images made her blush, intimate moments when she'd thought herself alone. Cesar had captured her in all her moods, joyful, pensive, angry, sad. Each painting was dated, creating a visual diary of their years together. The style evolved over time, becoming more confident, more skilled. Had he taught himself to paint just for this? Just for her? As Alana moved around the room, she noticed one painting that stood apart from the others. It hung beside Cesar's bed, the only image he would see upon waking and before sleeping. It showed Alana on their wedding day, her white dress contrasting beautifully with her dark skin, her eyes filled with hope and love. "Oh, Cesar," she whispered, touching the canvas gently. "What did we do to each other?" A soft knock at the door startled her. Elena stood there, her eyes wide with surprise at finding Alana in the forbidden room. "I'm sorry to disturb you, Mrs. Belmonte," Elena said, quickly recovering her composure. "But you have a visitor. Mr. Jackson is here." Alana's heart skipped. "Dominic? Dominic is here?" Elena nodded. "He says he was in the neighborhood and thought he'd stop by. Should I tell him you're busy?" "No," Alana said quickly. "Tell him I'll be right out. And Elena, this stays between us, please." The housekeeper nodded and disappeared down the hallway. Alana took one last look around the room, then carefully closed the door behind her. She needed time to think, to process everything she'd learned, and Dominic's unexpected visit was a welcome distraction. Dominic Jackson stood by the windows when Alana entered the living room, his tall frame silhouetted against the bright morning light. He turned at the sound of her footsteps, his face breaking into a warm smile. "There she is," he said, opening his arms for a hug. Alana stepped into his embrace, feeling the familiar comfort of an old friend. Dominic had been her neighbor growing up in Rocinha, the boy next door who had shared her dreams of escaping poverty. While Alana had done it through marriage, Dominic had built a successful construction company from nothing, becoming one of Rio's most respected self-made businessmen. "What are you doing here?" she asked, stepping back to look at him. At 31, Dominic was in his prime, handsome, confident, with kind eyes that had always seen her clearly. "I had a meeting nearby and thought I'd take a chance," he replied, studying her face. "You look tired, Lana. Everything okay?" She managed to smile. "Just didn't sleep well. It's good to see you, Dom." "You too." He followed her to the sofa. "I've been thinking about you since we had coffee last week. You seemed, I don't know, different." Alana hesitated. She and Dominic had reconnected a few months ago at a charity event. Since then, they'd met occasionally for coffee, rebuilding their old friendship. She hadn't told Cesar about these meetings, not out of secrecy, but because Cesar had never shown interest in her social life. "A lot has happened," she admitted. "Cesar and we're talking about divorce." Dominic's eyebrows shot up. "Divorce? Wow, I didn't expect that." "Neither did I, honestly." She twisted her wedding ring absently. "I was the one who asked for it, but now it's complicated." "Do you want to talk about it?" he asked gently. Did she? The journal, the paintings, those felt too private to share, even with an old friend. "Not really. Not yet. Tell me about you instead. How's the Santos project going?" Dominic allowed the change of subject, updating her on his latest construction development in their old neighborhood. He was building affordable housing with a community center and childcare facilities. As he spoke, his passion for giving back was evident. "You should come see it," he said. "We're having a community open house next week. It would mean a lot to have you there." "I'd like that," Alana said sincerely. They talked for almost an hour, the conversation flowing easily between them. With Dominic, Alana didn't have to be Mrs. Cesar Belmonte, the perfect society wife. She could just be Lana from Rocinha, the girl with big dreams. As he was leaving, Dominic paused at the door. "Whatever you decide about your marriage, Lana, I want you to know I'm here for you, not just as a friend." The meaning behind his words was clear. It wasn't the first time Dominic had hinted at deeper feelings, but it was the first time Alana felt a flutter in response. "Thank you," she said softly. "That means a lot to me." After he left, Alana stood in the quiet penthouse, more confused than ever. Cesar's journal and paintings had shaken her world, revealing a man she'd never truly known. And now there was Dominic, solid and real, offering a different kind of future, one without the complications of the Belmonte family. She needed to talk to Cesar, but first, she needed to understand her own heart. That evening, Alana sat on her terrace, watching the lights of Rio come alive as darkness fell. Cesar's journal lay open in her lap, the pages illuminated by soft lantern light. She'd spent the afternoon rereading entries, trying to piece together the man behind the words. Her phone buzzed with a text message from Dominic. "Thinking of you, call if you need anything." She smiled but didn't reply. Instead, she picked up her own phone and, before she could change her mind, called Cesar. He answered on the first ring, as if he'd been waiting. "Alana?" His voice was uncertain, hopeful. "Cesar." She took a deep breath. "I've read your journal, and I found the paintings." Silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken words. "I see," he finally said, his voice tight with emotion. "And now?" "I don't know," she admitted. 15 years, Cesar. 15 years of silence when you could have talked to me, when you could have trusted me with your pain." "I was afraid," he said softly. "Afraid you would see me as I see myself, damaged, guilty, unworthy." "That wasn't your decision to make," Alana said, feeling a flash of anger. "You decided what I could handle. You decided what our marriage would be. You never gave me a choice." "You're right," his voice broke slightly. "I've robbed us both of what might have been. I don't expect forgiveness, Alana. I couldn't let you go without knowing the truth." The raw honesty in his words touched something deep within her. "I don't know what happens next, Cesar. I need time to think." "Take all the time you need," he said. "I'll be here." After they hung up, Alana stared out at the city lights, her thoughts a tangled mess. Part of her wanted to forgive Cesar, to try to build something real from the ashes of their paper marriage. Another part wondered if too much time had been lost, too much damage done. And then there was Dominic, offering a fresh start with a man who had always seen her clearly. Sleep eluded her that night, her dreams filled with images of Cesar's paintings, of Dominic's smile, of choices unmade. The next morning, Alana was surprised by another visitor, Cesar's father, Roberto Belmonte. The Belmonte patriarch rarely visited the penthouse, preferring to summon family members to his mansion in the hills. "Alana," he greeted her coldly, not waiting for an invitation before striding into the living room. At 65, Roberto was still an imposing figure, tall and commanding, with silver hair and the same dark eyes as his son. Unlike Cesar, those eyes held no warmth. "Roberto," she replied, keeping her voice neutral, "this is unexpected." "Let's not waste time with pleasantries," he said, remaining standing though she had gestured to the sofa. "I understand you're divorcing my son." News traveled fast in the Belmonte circle. "Cesar and I are discussing our future," she said carefully. Roberto's mouth tightened. "After everything this family has given you, this is how you repay us? By abandoning Cesar when he needs stability for the business?" Anger flared within Alana. "Is that all you care about? The business? Your son is suffering, Roberto. He has been for years. Cesar has always been weak," Roberto dismissed with a wave of his hand. "Too sensitive for his own good. But he's a Belmonte, and Belmontes don't divorce. It creates complications, questions about succession, instability in the markets." Alana stared at him, truly seeing him perhaps for the first time. This cold, calculating man had shaped Cesar's life, had covered up his daughter's death, had used guilt to control his son for decades. "Did you ever let Cesar grieve for Gabriela?" she asked quietly. Roberto froze, his face paling slightly before his expression hardened. "So he told you about that unfortunate accident?" "Yes," Alana said, standing taller. "He told me everything. How you paid people off, how you created a false story, how you've used his guilt to control him ever since." "I protected him," Roberto snapped. "He was just a boy who made a stupid mistake. I kept him out of juvenile detention, kept the Belmonte name clean." "You kept him in a prison of his own making," Alana countered. "You never let him heal, never let him forgive himself." Roberto stepped closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Listen carefully, Alana. If you divorce my son, you get nothing. I'll make sure of it. All those pretty clothes, this penthouse, your comfortable lifestyle gone. You'll go back to being nobody from nowhere." Alana laughed, surprising them both. "Is that supposed to frighten me, Roberto? I was never afraid of being poor. I was afraid of being unloved. And that's exactly what your son has given me for 15 years. A life without love. Don't be dramatic," Roberto scoffed. "Cesar has given you everything." "Except himself," Alana said quietly. "And that's the only thing I ever wanted." She walked to the door, opening it in clear dismissal. "I think you should leave now. Any decisions about my marriage will be between Cesar and me, not you." Roberto's face darkened with anger, but he moved toward the door. "You'll regret this, Alana. No one walks away from the Belmontes." "I'm not walking away from Cesar," she replied. "I'm walking away from you and everything you represent. The control, the manipulation, the lies. Cesar deserves better, and so do I." After Roberto left, Alana leaned against the closed door, her heart pounding. She had never stood up to her father-in-law like that before. It felt terrifying and exhilarating. For the first time in years, she felt truly herself. Not Cesar's silent wife, not the Belmonte's exotic daughter-in-law. Just Alana Mendez, strong and clear-eyed. She picked up her phone and called Dominic. "I'd like to see that project in Rocinha," she said when he answered. "Can you take me there today?" 2 hours later, Alana walked through the construction site of Dominic's community development, impressed by what she saw. The buildings were simple but thoughtfully designed, with plenty of common spaces and greenery. Families would have dignity here, along with affordable rent. "This is amazing, Dom," she said, as they stood on what would soon be a rooftop garden. "You're really making a difference." Dominic smiled, pride evident in his expression. "This is why I work so hard, to give back to where we came from." They continued the tour, Dominic greeting every worker by name, showing Alana the details of the project. His passion was contagious, and for a few hours, Alana forgot the complications of her life. Later, they sat at a small cafe near the construction site, one they had frequented as teenagers. It was surreal to be back, as if the past 15 years had never happened. "Remember how we used to save up all week just to share one pastry here on Fridays?" Dominic asked, smiling at the memory. Alana nodded. And we'd make it last for hours, taking tiny bites. You always gave me the bigger half, he said softly. You always needed it more. You were working construction even then, burning all those calories. They fell silent, the weight of shared history between them. What happened to us, Lana? Dominic finally asked. We had plans, dreams. Then suddenly you were engaged to Cesar Belmonte, and everything changed. Alana looked down at her coffee. I fell in love, Dom. Cesar was different then, or I thought he was. He seemed to see me, really see me. And now? She met his gaze. Now I don't know what to think. I discovered things about him, about his past. It explains so much, but it doesn't erase 15 years, Dominic finished for her. No, she agreed, it doesn't. Dominic reached across the table, taking her hand. I never stopped caring about you, Lana. Even when you married him, even when you moved in those circles where someone like me didn't belong. Dom, let me finish, he said gently. I'm not trying to pressure you. I know you're going through a lot right now, but I want you to know that if you decide to end your marriage, you won't be alone. You won't be going back to nothing. His words touched her deeply. Thank you, she whispered. As they walked back to his car, Alana felt a strange sense of peace. No matter what happened with Cesar, she would be okay. She had forgotten her own strength, her own resilience. Rocinha had forged her long before the Belmontes had polished her. Dominic drove her back to the penthouse, both of them quiet, lost in their own thoughts. As they pulled up to the building, Alana spotted a familiar car parked outside. Cesar's. He's here, she said, surprised. Dominic followed her gaze. Do you want me to come up with you? She shook her head. No, this is something I need to do alone. He nodded, understanding in his eyes. Call me later. I will, she promised, leaning over to kiss his cheek before getting out of the car. As she rode the elevator up to the penthouse, Alana's mind raced. What would she say to Cesar? What could either of them say to bridge the gulf of 15 silent years? Cesar was waiting in the living room, looking out at the view that had once captivated them both. He turned when she entered, his eyes taking in her casual clothes, so different from her usual elegant attire. Alana, he said softly, thank you for seeing me. You could have called first, she replied, setting down her bag. I was afraid you might say no. He looked haggard, his usual perfect appearance rumpled as if he hadn't slept in days. Your housekeeper said you were out. I was in Rocinha, she said, watching his reaction. With Dominic Jackson. Something flashed in Cesar's eyes. Pain, jealousy perhaps. But he quickly masked it. I see. He's an old friend, Alana explained, though she didn't owe him an explanation. He's building affordable housing there. It's quite impressive. Cesar nodded. He's a good man. I've heard about his work. An awkward silence fell between them. 15 years of marriage, and they had the conversation skills of strangers. Why are you here, Cesar? Alana finally asked. He moved away from the window, his movements hesitant. I saw my father today. He mentioned he visited you. He did, she confirmed. Whatever he said to you doesn't matter, she interrupted. Your father doesn't factor into my decisions anymore, Cesar. He never should have. Cesar looked relieved. Good, that's good. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture she'd rarely seen from him. Alana, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to change your mind about the divorce, but after reading my journal, after seeing the paintings, I wanted to give you the chance to ask me anything. No more secrets, no more walls. The offer took her by surprise. Anything, he confirmed. I owe you that much at least. Alana moved to the sofa, sitting down. After a moment's hesitation, Cesar joined her, keeping a careful distance between them. Why did you marry me? She asked, the question that had haunted her for years. If you knew you couldn't, if you believed you couldn't be a real husband to me, why did you propose? Cesar's hands twisted together in his lap. Because I loved you, he said simply. From the moment you showed me that terrible modern art piece at the gallery and told me honestly that you thought it was pretentious garbage, a ghost of a smile touched his lips at the memory. No one had ever been that authentic with me before. Everyone always told me what they thought I wanted to hear. But you must have known what marriage meant, Alana pressed. A shared life, intimacy, eventually children. His expression darkened. I thought I could overcome my issues. I was in therapy. I believed that with time, with enough love, I could heal enough to be what you deserved. He looked down. I was wrong. The night after our wedding, the nightmares came back worse than ever. I couldn't risk touching you after that, couldn't risk losing control, hurting you. Hurting me? Alana frowned. Cesar, Did you think you would physically harm me? He looked miserable. I don't know, the therapist said no, that my guilt about Gabriella wasn't related to violence, but I couldn't take that chance, not with you. The depth of his fear, his self-loathing, struck Alana anew. So instead you hurt me in a different way, by shutting me out, by making me feel unwanted, unloved. I'm so sorry, he whispered, his voice breaking. I thought distance was kinder than disappointment. I thought giving you everything else would compensate for what I couldn't give. I was a coward, Alana, a selfish coward. They sat in silence, the weight of 15 years of misunderstandings between them. The paintings, Alana said after a while. When did you start painting me? A flush colored Cesar's cheeks. A few months after our wedding, I couldn't sleep. The nightmares, you know. I would wander the apartment while you slept. One night, I saw you on the terrace in the moonlight. You looked so peaceful, so beautiful. I felt this overwhelming need to capture that moment. You taught yourself to paint. For me? He nodded. It became a way to be close to you without actually being close. A way to express what I couldn't say. He hesitated. Did you look at all of them? Most of them, I think. They're beautiful, Cesar. I had no idea you had such talent. Only with you as my subject, he said softly. I've never painted anything else. Another silence fell, less awkward this time. What happens now? Cesar finally asked, his voice barely audible. Alana looked at this man she had married, this stranger she was only now beginning to know. I don't know, she answered honestly. Part of me wants to try again, to see if we could build something real from the truth, but another part wonders if too much damage has been done, if we can ever move beyond the patterns we've established. Cesar nodded, accepting her uncertainty. I understand. Whatever you decide, Alana, please know that these past 15 years, as broken as they were, have been the only true happiness I've ever known. Just being near you, sharing your life even from a distance, has been more than I deserved. He stood, preparing to leave. Take all the time you need, I'll be at the hotel. Alana walked him to the door. As he stepped into the hallway, she called after him. Cesar? He turned, hope and fear mingling in his eyes. The paintings, she said. Don't take them, not yet. I'd like to look at them again. A small smile touched his lips. They're yours, Alana. They've always been yours. After he left, Alana returned to his bedroom, standing once more among the visual record of their strange, silent marriage. 15 years of love expressed in oils and canvas rather than words and touch. As she studied the paintings, she noticed something she had missed before. In each one, no matter the setting or her expression, Cesar had painted her with a soft glow around her, as if she radiated light from within. Is that how he sees me? She wondered. As something luminous, something precious. She thought of Dominic, solid and real, offering a future unburdened by the Belmonte legacy. Then she thought of Cesar, broken but trying, offering a belated truth after 15 years of silence. Two paths stretched before her, and Alana knew that whatever she chose would irreversibly shape the rest of her life. A week passed, and Alana felt as though she were living in two separate worlds. During the days, she often found herself in Rocinha with Dominic, reconnecting with her roots, helping with his community project. In the evenings, she would return to the penthouse and spend hours in Cesar's room, studying his paintings, rereading passages from his journal. She had asked for space, and both men respected her wishes. Cesar remained at his hotel, texting once a day, simple messages that asked nothing of her. Good morning, Alana. I hope today brings you peace. I saw a street artist painting the harbor today and thought of you. Never pressuring, never demanding. Dominic was more direct, but equally respectful. The community center needs an art program director. Thought you might have some ideas. Dinner tonight? Just as friends, if that's what you need. Two paths, two futures, two very different men. How could she choose? On the 8th day after Cesar's visit, Alana received an unexpected call from Dr. Mateus Ferreira, Cesar's therapist. Mrs. Belmonte, I apologize for contacting you directly, the doctor began, his voice grave. Cesar has given me permission to speak with you, which is quite unprecedented. Is something wrong? Alana asked, immediately concerned. Not wrong exactly, Dr. Ferreira replied carefully, but I'm concerned about Cesar's mental state. He's been my patient for nearly 20 years, and I've never seen him this exposed, vulnerable. The walls he built to protect himself have come down rather suddenly. Alana moved to the terrace, looking out over the city. I've read his journal, Dr. Ferreira. I know about Gabriella, about his guilt. Yes, he told me. The doctor sighed. Mrs. Belmonte, please, call me Alana. Alana, then. Cesar has spent most of his life punishing himself for his sister's death. The distance he maintained from you, his inability to express his feelings, his fear of intimacy, these were all manifestations of his belief that he didn't deserve happiness. And now? Alana prompted. Now he's experiencing something therapists call emotional flooding. Having finally revealed his truth to you, all the feelings he's suppressed for decades are emerging at once. It's overwhelming him. Alana closed her eyes, picturing Cesar alone in a hotel room, finally facing the emotions he'd locked away for so long. What can I do? That depends, Dr. Ferreira said gently, on what you want for your future. If you're planning to proceed with divorce, it might be kinder to be clear about that. Uncertainty can be difficult for someone in Cesar's state. And if I'm not sure, Alana asked quietly, then perhaps you could consider seeing him, not with any promises, just be present. Sometimes presence is the most healing thing we can offer another person. After the call ended, Alana sat for a long time, watching the clouds drift over Rio. Cesar was struggling. The thought brought no satisfaction, only a deep sadness for all they had lost, all they might have been. Before she could change her mind, she picked up her phone and called him. Alana. His voice was rough, as if he hadn't been sleeping. Cesar, she said softly, would you like to have dinner with me tonight? Not here, not at the hotel. Somewhere neutral. The relief in his voice was palpable. Yes, I'd like that very much. There's a small restaurant in Lapa, she suggested. Nothing fancy, just good food. Perfect, he agreed. Shall I pick you up? I'll meet you there, she replied, not quite ready for the intimacy of a shared car ride. 8 o'clock? I'll be waiting. Cesar arrived at the restaurant first. Alana spotted him as soon as she entered, sitting at a corner table, nervously adjusting his water glass. He had dressed simply by his standards, slacks and a blue button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up. His usual perfect grooming had given way to a slightly more relaxed appearance, his hair less severely styled, a hint of stubble on his jaw. He stood when he saw her, his eyes lighting up in a way she'd never seen before. Alana, you look beautiful. She had chosen a casual yellow sundress, her natural curls loose around her shoulders. Thank you. You look different. A small smile touched his lips. Good different or bad different? Just different, she said, sliding into her seat. More like the Cesar I met at the gallery all those years ago. The waiter came and they ordered simple dishes, nothing extravagant. When they were alone again, an awkward silence fell. I spoke with Dr. Ferreira today, Alana finally said. Cesar's eyes widened slightly. I should have told you I gave him permission to contact you. He's worried about you. Cesar looked down at his hands. I'm fine. Are you? She challenged gently. Because you don't look fine, Cesar. You look like you haven't slept in days. He gave a small, mirthless laugh. Is it that obvious? I've gotten used to the nightmares over the years, but lately, they're different. Different how? He hesitated, then met her eyes directly, something the old Cesar rarely did. Before, I always dreamed about Gabriela, about the accident. Now I dream about you. Me? You walking away, he said softly. You finding happiness with someone else. You forgetting me completely. The raw honesty in his voice touched her. Cesar, I'm sorry, he interrupted. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. I promised myself I wouldn't pressure you. The waiter returned with their food, giving Alana a moment to collect her thoughts. When they were alone again, she decided on honesty. I've been spending time in Rocinha, she said, with Dominic Jackson. Cesar nodded, his expression carefully neutral. I know. You know? A flash of embarrassment crossed his face. Not because I've been having you followed or anything like that. Your visits to the construction site were mentioned in a local business paper. Socialite Alana Belmonte returns to her roots. There was a photo of you and Jackson looking at building plans. I see. Alana took a bite of her food, watching Cesar's reaction. Does that bother you? Yes, he said simply. But I have no right to be bothered, no claim on your time or attention. You're still my husband, she pointed out. On paper. His eyes held hers. We both know our marriage has never been real. The blunt admission hung between them. For 15 years, they'd maintained the illusion. To the world, to each other, perhaps even to themselves. No, Alana agreed quietly. It hasn't been. They ate in silence for a while, the weight of truth both painful and somehow freeing. What is he like? Cesar asked suddenly. Jackson. I've only met him a few times at business functions. He seemed solid. Alana considered the question. He is solid, reliable. What you see is what you get with Dominic. No hidden rooms, no secret paintings. Cesar winced slightly. I deserved that. It wasn't meant as a criticism, she said. Just a fact. Dominic doesn't hide who he is or what he feels. And what does he feel? For you? Cesar's voice was carefully controlled. Alana met his gaze directly. He cares for me. He always has, since we were teenagers. And you? For him? The question was bold, more direct than Cesar had ever been with her. I care for him too, she admitted. He represents something uncomplicated, a life I might have had. Cesar nodded slowly, absorbing this. If I hadn't come into the gallery that day, perhaps? He placed his fork down carefully. Do you regret it, Alana? Meeting me? Marrying me? The question cut to the heart of everything. I don't know, she answered honestly. There have been moments, many moments, when I've regretted it deeply, when I've felt like I was slowly disappearing inside our marriage, becoming a ghost in my own life. Pain flashed across his face, but he didn't look away. And now? Now, she sighed. Now I understand more. But understanding doesn't automatically heal 15 years of loneliness, Cesar. No, he agreed. It doesn't. They finished their meal talking of safer things, a new exhibition at the museum, the changing skyline of Rio, memories of places they'd traveled. For the first time in their marriage, the conversation felt real, neither of them performing the roles of perfect husband and wife. When the bill came, Cesar reached for it automatically, but Alana placed her hand over his. Let me. Surprise flickered in his eyes. You've never paid for a meal in all the time I've known you. I know, she said. That's the problem, isn't it? You've always taken care of everything, made all the decisions, controlled all the finances. She withdrew her hand, but held his gaze. I'm not criticizing, Cesar. It's just, if we were to try again, things would have to be different. Equal. A true partnership. Hope bloomed in his expression. Are you considering that? Trying again? I'm considering everything, she replied carefully. That's why I'm here tonight. After dinner, they walked together through the lively streets of Lapa. The night was warm, music spilling from bars and cafes, couples dancing in the plazas. A different world from the refined silence of the Belmonte social circle. I used to come here with friends from university, Alana said as they passed a small jazz club. Before I met you. Cesar looked thoughtful. You gave up a lot to become a Belmonte, didn't you? Not just material things, but freedom, authenticity. The observation surprised her. Yes, I did. I never saw it, he admitted. I was so caught up in my own pain, my own fears, that I never considered what the Belmonte name might cost you. They stopped at a small square where an elderly couple was dancing to a street musician's guitar. The simple joy on their weathered faces was captivating. Do you think we could ever be like that? Cesar asked quietly. Comfortable with each other? Happy in such a simple way? Alana watched the couple, the way they moved together with the ease of decades of shared life. I don't know. We'd be starting from scratch, Cesar, learning how to be together after 15 years of being apart. I'd like to try, he said, his voice low and urgent. If you'd give us that chance. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from Dominic. At the hospital with Elena. She collapsed at the penthouse. Don't worry, doctors say she's stable. Thought you'd want to know. Alana gasped. Elena's in the hospital. I have to go. Cesar immediately hailed a taxi. I'll come with you. They rode to the hospital in tense silence. Cesar's hand close to hers on the seat, but not quite touching. Alana found herself strangely grateful for his presence, for the way he took charge when they arrived, getting information from the front desk, navigating the maze of corridors. They found Dominic in the waiting room, his tall frame hunched in an uncomfortable chair. He stood when he saw them, surprise flickering across his face at the sight of Cesar. Dom! Alana moved to him, accepting his quick hug. What happened? How is she? She's going to be okay, Dominic assured her. Exhaustion and dehydration, the doctor said. She was cleaning when she felt dizzy and called me. Called you? Cesar asked, a hint of tension in his voice. Dominic met his gaze evenly. We exchanged numbers after I helped her fix a leaking pipe in the kitchen last week. She didn't want to worry Alana over a small household issue. Cesar nodded, accepting this. Thank you for being there for her. For Alana's staff. Elena's more than staff, Alana corrected gently. She's been with me for 10 years. She's family. A doctor approached then, clipboard in hand. Mrs. Belmonte, your housekeeper is asking for you. Alana followed the doctor to a small private room where Elena lay, looking small and frail against the white sheets. The older woman's face brightened when she saw Alana. "Mrs. Belmonte, I'm so sorry for the trouble," she began. "Hush," Alana took her hand. "No apologies. You should have told me you weren't feeling well." Eleanor's eyes darted to the doorway where Cesar and Dominic stood awkwardly, keeping their distance. "I didn't want to bother you. You have so much on your mind lately." Alana smiled sadly. "Your health is never a bother, Elena. The doctor says you need rest. You're taking 2 weeks off minimum." "But who will—" "Don't worry about the penthouse," Alana interrupted. "I'm perfectly capable of making my own bed and cooking my own meals." Eleanor looked skeptical and Alana laughed. "Okay, maybe not cooking, but I'll manage." After making sure Elena had everything she needed, Alana rejoined the two men in the hallway. The contrast between them was striking. Cesar in his expensive casual clothes, Dominic in his work jeans and button-down shirt, both watching her with concern. "She's going to be fine," Alana assured them. "Just needs rest." "You should get home," Dominic said. "It's getting late." "I'll drive you," Cesar offered immediately. An awkward silence fell as the two men looked at each other, then at Alana, clearly waiting for her to choose. "Actually," she said, suddenly weary of the unspoken competition, "I think I'll take a taxi. I need some time to think." She turned to Dominic. "Thank you for being there for Elena. I'll call you tomorrow." Then to Cesar. "And thank you for dinner. It was illuminating." She left them both standing in the hospital corridor, two paths not taken, at least not tonight. The next morning, Alana woke to the unusual sound of silence in the penthouse. Without Elena bustling about, the space felt emptier, lonelier. She made herself coffee and carried it to the terrace, watching the city come alive below. Her phone rang. Her mother-in-law, Isabella. Alana considered letting it go to voicemail but finally answered. "Isabella," she greeted, keeping her voice neutral. "How are you?" "Don't play games with me, Alana," Isabella snapped. "What are you doing with my son?" Alana sighed. "I assume Roberto told you Cesar and I had dinner." "Roberto has spies everywhere," Isabella confirmed without shame. "After 15 years of marriage, suddenly you're dating my son while flaunting your relationship with that contractor from your old neighborhood. Have you no dignity?" The accusations stung, but Alana refused to be baited. "My relationship with Cesar is between us, and Dominic is a friend, nothing more," Isabella scoffed. "Please, the photos in the gossip blogs tell a different story." "Photos?" Alana sat straighter. "What photos?" "Check Rio Society online," Isabella said coldly. "And remember that the Belmonte name means something in this city. We will not be made fools of." The call ended and Alana immediately pulled up the blog on her tablet. There they were, photos of her and Dominic at his construction site laughing together, photos of her and Cesar entering the restaurant last night, and worst of all, photos of her hugging Dominic at the hospital, followed by her leaving alone. The headline screamed, "Belmonte marriage crumbles, socialite juggles husband and childhood sweetheart." Alana felt sick. The photos themselves were innocent enough, but framed by the salacious headline and innuendo-filled captions, they painted her as calculating and unfaithful. The comment section was worse, strangers speculating about her character, her motives, her worth. Her phone buzzed with a text from Cesar. "I've seen the blog, I'm so sorry, my parents work, no doubt. Can I come over?" Before she could reply, another message came through from Dominic. "Ignore the garbage online. Hold your head high. You've done nothing wrong." Two responses, both supportive in their own way. Cesar assuming blame on behalf of his family, offering presence. Dominic offering strength, reminding her of her own integrity. She texted Cesar back, "Yes, please come." While waiting for him, Alana showered and dressed simply in jeans and a soft blouse. She was no longer going to perform the role of perfect Belmonte wife, no longer going to armor herself in designer clothes and careful makeup. Cesar arrived looking worried, a newspaper tucked under his arm. "There's more," he said grimly, handing it to her. The financial section carried a small item about Dominic's construction company suddenly facing permit issues and potential funding problems. Reading between the lines, it was clear that Belmonte influence was being wielded against him. "Your father?" Alana asked, anger rising. Cesar nodded, shame evident in his expression. "Almost certainly. I've already called our lawyers to stop whatever he's doing, but the damage may already be done," she finished. They moved to the living room, sitting together on the sofa, closer than they had in years. "I'm so sorry, Alana," Cesar said softly. "This is my fault. I should have known they would lash out when they felt threatened. It's not your fault, she corrected. Your parents are responsible for their own actions. Still, he ran a hand through his hair in frustration. I've spent my entire life avoiding conflict with them, especially my father. Even after everything, some part of me is still that scared 15-year-old boy, desperate for his approval, terrified of his anger. The admission touched something deep in Alana's heart. For the first time, she truly saw the damage the Belmonte had done to their own son, the control maintained through guilt and fear, the emotional manipulation that had shaped him into a man afraid of his own feelings. "What can we do?" she asked. Cesar looked surprised at the "we," a flicker of hope crossing his face. "I've already instructed our legal team to clear whatever obstacles have been placed in Jackson's path. The permits will be reinstated, the funding secured." "That's a start," Alana acknowledged, "but it doesn't address the larger issue." "My parents," Cesar said grimly. "Your parents," she agreed. "As long as they have this power over our lives, over your life, we can never truly be free, Cesar, whether we stay married or not." He was quiet for a long moment, considering her words. "You're right," he finally said. "It's time I stopped hiding. Time I faced them directly." The determination in his voice was new, something she'd never heard from him before. "What are you going to do?" "What I should have done years ago." He stood, a new energy in his movements. "I'm going to confront my father, tell him to back off or face consequences." "What consequences?" A hard smile touched Cesar's lips. "I know where the bodies are buried, so to speak. Years of questionable business practices, tax arrangements that wouldn't bear close scrutiny. I've turned a blind eye because he's my father, but no more." Alana rose to stand beside him, concerned. "Cesar, be careful. Roberto is a dangerous man when cornered." "So am I," he said quietly. "I'm just better at hiding it." He moved toward the door, then stopped, turning back to her. "Alana, whatever you decide about us, about our future, know that I'm going to fix this, for both of us." Before she could respond, he was gone, leaving her to wonder at this new Cesar, decisive, protective, finally standing up to the forces that had controlled him for decades. Her phone rang again. Dominic this time. "I just got a call from the building department," he said without preamble. "All our permits are suddenly back in order. Would you happen to know anything about that?" Alana smiled despite herself. "Cesar is handling it." A pause. "Cesar is handling it," Dominic repeated, his tone unreadable. "So you two are talking," she said, "being honest with each other, maybe for the first time." Another pause. "I see. Dom," she said gently, "I need to see this through. Whatever happens, I can't walk away without knowing if there's anything real to save." "And what about us?" he asked quietly. "Is there anything real there?" The question hung between them, heavy with implication. "I don't know," she answered truthfully. "But I care about you too much to offer half a heart, while the other half is still trying to understand 15 years of a broken marriage." Dominic sighed. "You always were the wisest of us, Lana. Take the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." After they hung up, Alana wandered through the penthouse feeling restless, uncertain. So much had changed in just a few weeks. The careful structure of her life had crumbled, leaving her standing in the rubble, trying to decide what to rebuild and what to leave behind. Almost without conscious decision, she found herself in Cesar's bedroom again, surrounded by his paintings of her. She moved slowly among them, seeing herself through his eyes, always beautiful, always luminous, always just out of reach. The last painting, tucked in a corner almost out of sight, caught her attention. It was different from the others, darker, more turbulent. It showed Alana from behind, walking away down a long corridor, her figure small and distant. The date in the corner was recent, just after she had asked for the divorce. The title, written in Cesar's neat hand, was simply "Losing Her." The raw pain captured in the image brought tears to Alana's eyes. This was no romanticized vision, no idealized portrait. This was Cesar's fear, made visible, the fear of watching her walk away forever. She was still standing there, lost in thought, when her phone rang again. Unknown number. "Hello," she answered cautiously. "Mrs. Belmonte?" A woman's voice, professional, slightly tense. "This is Nurse Santos from Central Hospital. Your husband has been admitted to the emergency room." Alana's heart stuttered. "What? What happened?" "There was an altercation," the police said. "Mr. Belmonte has some injuries. He's asking for you." "I'll be right there," Alana said, already moving toward the door. She called Dominic from the taxi, her voice shaking. "Cesar's in the hospital. There was some kind of fight. Can you meet me there?" "On my way," he replied without hesitation. When she arrived at the hospital, Dominic was already in the waiting room. He enfolded her in a quick, tight hug. "Any news?" She shook her head, moving toward the reception desk. "I'm Alana Belmonte. My husband was brought in." "Mrs. Belmonte." A doctor approached, his expression grave. "Your husband is stable. He has a concussion, 2 broken ribs, and some facial lacerations that required stitches." "What happened?" she demanded. The doctor glanced around uncomfortably. "Perhaps we should speak privately." "No," Alana said firmly. "My friend stays. Please tell me what happened to my husband." From what the police reported, Mr. Belmonte was involved in a physical altercation with his father. Security camera footage from the Belmonte corporate offices shows them arguing, then Roberto Belmonte striking your husband. The situation escalated. Alana felt sick. Cesar fought with his father? That's not possible. He would never. "I'm afraid the evidence is quite clear," the doctor said gently. "Both men were injured, though your husband more severely. Roberto Belmonte refused treatment and left against medical advice." "Can I see Cesar?" Alana asked, her mind reeling. "Yes, but briefly. He's resting." Dominic squeezed her hand. "Go, I'll wait here." Alana followed the doctor to a private room. She gasped when she saw Cesar, his handsome face bruised and swollen, a cut above his eye neatly stitched, his arm in a sling. "Alana," he whispered, his voice rough. "You came." She moved to his bedside, careful not to touch his injured body. "Of course I came." "What happened, Cesar? They said you fought with your father." A bitter smile twisted his damaged lips. "I confronted him, as I said I would. Told him to leave you alone, to stop interfering with Jackson's business." He laughed, said I'd always been weak, controlled by my emotions. Cesar winced as he shifted position. Then he mentioned Gabriela, said she'd be ashamed of the man I've become. "Oh, Cesar," Alana whispered. "Something snapped," he admitted, shame in his eyes. 30 years of guilt and fear and anger. It all came out at once. I pushed him. He hit me. After that, he closed his eyes briefly. I don't remember much. Just that for the first time in my life I wasn't afraid of him. Alana didn't know what to say. The thought of Cesar, her careful, controlled Cesar, physically fighting with his father, was almost impossible to imagine. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I wanted to protect you, to fix things. Instead, I've made everything worse." She shook her head. "You stood up to him. After all these years, you finally stood up to him. For you," he whispered. "I'd never have found the courage otherwise." A nurse appeared in the doorway. "Mrs. Belmonte, there's a police officer here who would like to speak with your husband." Alana turned, surprised. "Now? He needs rest." "It's about the charges, ma'am." "Charges?" Alana looked back at Cesar, who wouldn't meet her eyes. "What charges?" The nurse looked uncomfortable. "Roberto Belmonte has filed assault charges against your husband." Alana's world tilted sideways. Cesar arrested for assaulting his father. It was unthinkable. The scandal would be enormous, the damage to the Belmonte name irreparable, which was exactly why Roberto had done it. One final, devastating power play. "No," Alana said firmly. "My husband is injured and needs rest. The police can come back tomorrow." "Ma'am, I don't think—" "Tomorrow," Alana repeated, her voice leaving no room for argument. "And tell them to bring a warrant." After the nurse left, Alana turned back to Cesar. "We need a lawyer." "Already called one," Cesar said weakly. "Gomez is on his way, he'll handle it." Alana nodded, relieved that Cesar had at least had the presence of mind to contact their attorney. "Good. Now rest. I'll be right outside." She returned to the waiting room, where Dominic stood as soon as he saw her. "How is he?" he asked, genuine concern in his voice. "Physically? He'll recover," Alana said, collapsing into a chair. "But Roberto has filed assault charges against him." Dominic let out a low whistle. "That's cold even for Roberto Belmonte. He's trying to destroy Cesar," Alana said, anger and fear tangling in her chest. "And he might succeed." Dominic sat beside her, his solid presence comforting. "What can I do?" She looked at him. This good man who had no stake in the Belmonte drama yet was here, offering support. "Just be here. That's enough." They sat in silence for a while, Alana lost in thought. Everything had happened so quickly. The confrontation with Roberto, Cesar's uncharacteristic violence, the charges. What did it mean for their future? For Cesar's freedom? "You still care for him," Dominic finally said, his voice gentle, without accusation. Alana met his gaze. "I do," she admitted. "Despite everything, despite the wasted years, I do." "Love doesn't die easily," Dominic observed. Even when it should. Dom, he shook his head. I'm not blaming you, Lana. I've had a front row seat to your marriage for years, watching from a distance. I saw the loneliness in your eyes at charity functions, the way Caesar kept you at arm's length. I always thought, he trailed off, looking away. Thought what? She prompted. That someday you'd realize you deserved more, that you'd find your way back to people who saw your value. He looked at her again, his eyes serious. Back to me. The raw honesty in his voice touched her deeply. Dominic, let me finish, he said gently. I need to say this and you need to hear it. I've loved you since we were teenagers, Lana. I never stopped, not even when you married him. I waited, hoping someday you'd see that what we had, what we could have, was real. Alana felt tears prick her eyes. I know, but watching you these past few weeks, seeing how you still look at him, how you rushed here today, I can't compete with 15 years of history. With the father of your... He stopped abruptly, an odd expression crossing his face. The father of my what? Alana asked, confused. Dominic looked stricken. I'm sorry, I misspoke. No, she said slowly. You were going to say the father of your child, but Caesar and I never had children. Dominic looked away, unable to meet her eyes. Lana, a cold feeling settled in her stomach. Dominic, what do you know? He sighed heavily. It's not my place. Tell me, she insisted, her voice rising. What about children? Dominic ran a hand over his face. About 2 years after you married, I ran into your grandmother at the market. She was so proud, talking about how you were expecting, how the Belmonte family would finally have an heir. Alana stared at him, shocked. I was never pregnant. That's what I thought when I saw you a few months later at some charity event. Still slim, no baby in sight. Dominic continued reluctantly. I asked your grandmother the next time I saw her. She got very quiet, then said there had been a problem, and I shouldn't mention it to you. Alana's mind raced. That's impossible. I was never pregnant, Dom. Never. But even as she said it, a memory surfaced. A strange week during their second year of marriage when she'd been inexplicably ill. Caesar had called in specialists, had her taken to a private clinic. They'd told her it was a severe case of food poisoning. She'd been kept sedated for much of it, remembered very little. When she'd recovered, Caesar had been even more distant than before. She'd attributed it to his usual coldness, but now... No, she whispered. It can't be. But another memory came, finding a small velvet box hidden in Cesar's desk drawer months later. Inside, a tiny silver bracelet engraved with the name Gabriella. She'd assumed it belonged to his sister, that he kept it as a memento. He'd been furious when he caught her looking at it, the only time he'd ever raised his voice to her. Gabriella, the name of his dead sister, the name he would have given their daughter. Alana stood abruptly. I have to go. Lana, wait, Dominic called after her. I don't know for sure. It was just gossip, maybe. But she was already moving, her mind a whirlwind of confusion and betrayal. If what Dominic suggested was true, if she had been pregnant without knowing it, if Caesar had kept something so monumental from her, then everything she thought she knew about their marriage was an even bigger lie than she'd imagined. She found Caesar's room again, slipping inside quietly. He appeared to be sleeping, his bruised face relaxed in repose. Alana stood at his bedside, studying the man she'd spent 15 years with, the man she thought she was finally beginning to understand. Was there a baby? She whispered, not expecting an answer, but Caesar's eyes fluttered open, unfocused from medication. Alana, he murmured. Was there a baby, Caesar? She repeated, louder this time. Did I lose a child I didn't even know I was carrying? His eyes widened, sudden awareness cutting through the haze of painkillers. Who told you? He whispered. The confirmation hit Alana like a physical blow. She staggered back, gripping the edge of a chair for support. It's true. Caesar struggled to sit up, wincing at the movement. Alana, please, answer me, she demanded, her voice shaking with anger and hurt. Was I pregnant? Did I lose a baby? Yes, he whispered, his voice broken. Early in our second year of marriage. You were 8 weeks along when the bleeding started. And you never told me. Disbelief colored her words. You let me believe it was food poisoning? The doctors said it was better that way, Caesar pleaded. You were so ill, the miscarriage was complicated. They had to perform emergency surgery. There was a risk you might never conceive again. They advised me that knowing everything at once would be too traumatic. So you decided to tell me nothing. Ever. Alana's voice rose. That wasn't your decision to make, Caesar. I know, he admitted, tears filling his eyes. I was wrong, so wrong. At first I thought I would tell you when you were stronger. Then weeks passed, then months. The longer I waited, the harder it became. And the bracelet, she asked, remembering the silver trinket with the name Gabriella. You were going to name her after your sister. Pain twisted Cesar's features. The ultrasound had shown a girl. I thought maybe it was a second chance, a way to honor Gabriella's memory, to heal that wound somehow. But you never healed, Alana said, the pieces finally falling into place. You just added another layer of guilt, another secret to keep. Cesar looked utterly broken, tears streaming down his bruised face. I'm so sorry, Alana. I thought I was protecting you. I thought knowing would only cause you pain. Instead, you took away my right to grieve, she said, her own tears falling now. My right to know my own body, my own history. You robbed me of that child's memory as surely as if you'd stolen her from my arms. Alana, please. She backed toward the door, needing space, air, distance from this latest betrayal. All these years, I thought we had no children because you didn't want them, because you wouldn't touch me. But we did have a child, for a brief moment, and you kept her from me. I was afraid, Cesar whispered, afraid you'd blame me as I blamed myself, afraid it was punishment for Gabriella. The admission only fueled Alana's anger. Everything always comes back to your guilt, your fear, your pain. What about mine, Cesar? What about my loss? Before he could answer, she turned and fled the room, nearly colliding with a nurse in the hallway. She hurried through the hospital corridors, past the waiting room where Dominic stood in alarm at the sight of her tear-streaked face, out into the warm night air. Alana, Dominic called, following her. What happened? It was true, she said, her voice hollow. I was pregnant. I lost a baby I never even knew existed. Dominic's face fell. I'm so sorry, Lana. I shouldn't have said anything. It wasn't my place. No, she disagreed. I needed to know. After 15 years of lies, I deserved the truth. He reached for her, but she stepped back. I need to be alone, Dom. Please understand. Understanding filled his eyes. Of course. But call me when you're ready. Don't go through this by yourself. Alana nodded, then walked away, not toward a taxi stand, but into the quiet streets around the hospital. She needed to walk, to breathe, to process this new revelation that changed everything she thought she knew about her marriage. A daughter. She had almost had a daughter, and Cesar had kept her existence and her loss a secret for 13 years. It was one betrayal too many, one secret too deep. Whatever fragile understanding they had been building these past weeks felt shattered beyond repair. As she walked through the sleeping city, Alana made her decision. It was time to let go of the past, to stop trying to salvage something that had never truly existed. Her marriage to Cesar had been built on secrets and silence from the very beginning. Perhaps it was better to start fresh, to build something new with someone who had always been honest with her. With Dominic, who had loved her steadily all these years, who had never hidden his feelings or kept secrets. By the time dawn broke over Rio, Alana's mind was made up. She would file the divorce papers Cesar had given her. She would close the chapter on 15 wasted years and begin a new story, one built on truth and transparency. She texted Dominic, I've made my decision. Can we meet for breakfast? His reply was immediate. Name the place. I'll be there. Then, after a moment's hesitation, she texted Cesar as well. I'll be filing the papers today. I'm sorry, but this last secret is one I can't forgive. Goodbye, Cesar. As she pressed send, Alana felt a strange mixture of grief and relief. The grief of what might have been, the family they might have had, the love that might have flourished in honesty, the relief of finally breaking free from a marriage that had been a beautiful prison for 15 long years. Her phone rang almost immediately. Cesar calling. She let it go to voicemail. Whatever he had to say, it was too late. 15 years too late. She was about to turn off her phone when it buzzed with a text message, not from Cesar or Dominic, but from Elena, her housekeeper. Mrs. Belmonte, I know it's not my place, but before you make any final decisions, there's something you should see. In Mr. Belmonte's closet, behind the painting of you in the blue dress, there's a safe. The combination is your wedding date. What's inside might change everything. Alana stared at the message, her heart pounding. One more secret, one more hidden truth. Did she dare look? Or was it better to walk away now, to stop the cycle of revelation and pain? The choice she made would determine the rest of her life. Alana stood in front of Cesar's bedroom door, Eleanor's text message still open on her phone. Behind that door, behind a painting, inside a safe, one more secret waited. One more piece of the puzzle that was her 15-year marriage. Did she really want to know? She had already decided to file the divorce papers, to start fresh with Dominic. Finding out what Cesar had hidden in his safe couldn't change the years of silence, the profound betrayal of keeping their lost child a secret. Could it? With a deep breath, Alana opened the door. The paintings of herself watched as she moved to the closet, finding the one of her in a blue dress, a gala from 5 years ago. She remembered the night clearly. Cesar had been particularly attentive, had even danced with her once before retreating back into his shell. She lifted the painting carefully, revealing a small wall safe behind it. Her fingers trembled as she entered their wedding date, 08-17-09. The safe clicked open. Inside was a small velvet box, the same one she had found years ago with the silver bracelet engraved with Gabriella. Beside it lay a USB drive, a sealed envelope with her name on it, and a thin leather journal different from the one Cesar had given her. Alana took everything to the bed, sitting down carefully. She opened the velvet box first. The tiny silver bracelet glinted in the morning light, the name Gabriella delicately engraved on the front. She turned it over and noticed something she hadn't seen before. On the back, in even smaller letters, "Beloved daughter of Alana and Cesar Belmonte." Tears welled in her eyes. This tiny piece of silver was the only tangible proof that their daughter had existed, however briefly. Next, she opened the envelope. Inside was a letter dated 13 years ago, shortly after she had lost the baby. "My dearest Alana, if you are reading this, I have finally found the courage to tell you the truth, or perhaps you have discovered it yourself. Either way, I owe you an explanation for my unforgivable silence. 2 weeks ago, we lost our daughter. The doctors said she was too small, too fragile to survive. When the bleeding started, you were so frightened. You didn't understand what was happening. How could you, when I had never told you about the pregnancy? The doctors had only confirmed it days before, and I was waiting for the perfect moment to share our joy. Then everything went wrong. The surgery was necessary to save your life, but our daughter, our tiny Gabriella, couldn't be saved. The doctors said telling you everything at once would be too traumatic, that it would be better to let you believe it was just a severe illness until you were stronger. I agreed, not because I thought it was right, but because I was a coward, because I couldn't bear to see the pain in your eyes, knowing I had failed to protect another Gabriella, because I feared you would blame me, as I blamed myself. Every day since, I have meant to tell you. Every day, the words have died in my throat. How do you tell someone you love that they lost a child they never knew they had? How do you admit to such a terrible deception? The doctors also said your chances of conceiving again were low, damage from the surgery, complications they couldn't fully explain. Another truth I kept from you, another choice I made on your behalf. I have no right to ask for your forgiveness. What I have done is unforgivable. But I want you to know that our daughter was loved, if only for those few precious weeks. That I have grieved her every day, that I named her after my sister, because I wanted to believe that this time I could protect her. I failed. Whatever you decide after learning this truth, know that I will always love both of my Gabriellas, the sister I lost through my recklessness, and the daughter we lost before we ever had the chance to know her, with all my broken heart. Cesar. Alana wiped away tears, her anger mingling with grief. The letter was dated 13 years ago, yet Cesar had never found the courage to give it to her. More secrets, more silence. She picked up the USB drive, moving to Cesar's laptop on the desk across the room. When she plugged it in, a single folder appeared, labeled Gabriella. Inside were medical records, the confirmation of her pregnancy, the emergency surgery report, pictures of an ultrasound showing the tiniest flutter of life. Why had Cesar kept all of this hidden? The evidence of their shared loss, the tangible pieces of a grief she had never been allowed to feel. Finally, she opened the leather journal. Unlike the one Cesar had given her, filled with entries spanning their entire marriage, this one contained only a few pages of writing, all dated within weeks of losing the baby. The first entry broke her heart. I held her. The doctors asked if I wanted to see her, to hold her before they took her away. She was so small, so perfect. 10 tiny fingers, 10 tiny toes, eyes that would never open, a mouth that would never call me Papa. How do I tell Alana? How do I explain that I held our daughter? That I said goodbye to her alone because she was unconscious from the surgery? That I named her? That I whispered our love into ears that would never hear? The guilt is unbearable. First my sister, now my daughter, both named Gabriella. Both lost because of me, because I wasn't careful enough, wasn't vigilant enough. God is punishing me, and now Alana is paying the price too. The doctors say she needs to recover physically before dealing with the emotional trauma. That telling her everything at once could harm her recovery. I agree, but in my heart I know I'm using their medical advice as an excuse. I'm afraid of her grief, afraid of her blame, afraid she will look at me and see the truth, that I am cursed, that everyone I love suffers because of me. So I will wait, just a little longer, until she's stronger, until I find the words, until I can bear to speak our daughter's name without breaking apart. Alana closed the journal, her hands shaking. Cesar had held their daughter, had named her, had said goodbye to her, had shouldered that unbearable grief alone, convinced he was protecting Alana when in reality he was protecting himself. She sat very still, surrounded by the evidence of a tragedy she had never known, trying to process this new reality. She had been a mother, however briefly, had carried a child, their child, only to lose her before even knowing she existed. The grief hit her suddenly, overwhelming in its intensity. She curled into herself, finally mourning the daughter she had never known, the family they might have been. All these years, she had wondered why Cesar wouldn't touch her, why they never spoke of children. Now she understood. In his broken, misguided way, he had been trying to spare her the pain he believed would destroy her. Her phone buzzed with a message from Dominic. "Are we still meeting for breakfast?" The simple question pulled her back to the present, to the decision she had made before discovering the contents of the safe. Could she still leave Cesar, knowing what she knew now? Could she still build a future with Dominic with this newfound grief so fresh in her heart? Before she could reply, another message came through, from Isabella Belmonte. Cesar collapsed at the hospital. They're taking him to surgery. Something about internal bleeding. Roberto is beside himself with guilt. Please come quickly. Alana's heart stuttered. Internal bleeding? Cesar had seemed stable when she left him, bruised and broken but not in danger. She grabbed her purse and rushed out, texting Dominic on the way. Can't meet. Cesar in emergency surgery, heading to hospital now. His reply came quickly. I'll meet you there. The hospital was chaotic when Alana arrived. Roberto and Isabella Belmonte stood in the private waiting area, their usual perfect appearance disheveled by worry. Roberto's own face showed bruising from the fight with his son. What happened? Alana demanded, not bothering with greetings. Isabella turned, relief washing over her face at the sight of her daughter-in-law. Alana, thank God. They won't tell us anything because we're not listed as his emergency contacts. You are. This was news to Alana. I am? Of course, Roberto said gruffly. You're his wife. A doctor approached, clipboard in hand. Mrs. Belmonte, I'm Dr. Carvalho, the surgeon handling your husband's case. How is he? Alana asked, fear tightening her chest. In surgery now. It appears he had a slow bleed in his abdomen that wasn't detected initially. The impact to his ribs likely caused a small tear in his spleen. He lost consciousness from the blood loss, which actually alerted the staff to the problem. But he'll be okay? Alana pressed. The doctor's expression was guarded. We're doing everything we can. The next few hours will be critical. He lost a significant amount of blood before we detected the problem. Alana felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. Cesar might die, might leave her forever, just when she was beginning to understand him, just when she had discovered the truth about their daughter. Can I see him after the surgery? She asked. Of course. I'll have a nurse come get you when he's in recovery. The doctor hesitated. It might help to have family here. Is there anyone else we should contact? Alana was about to say no when she spotted Dominic entering the waiting area, his tall frame easy to spot among the hospital staff. Their eyes met across the room, and she felt a surge of gratitude for his steady presence. My friend is already here, she told the doctor. Thank you. As the doctor left, Roberto approached Alana cautiously. This is my fault, he admitted, his voice rougher than she had ever heard it. I never should have filed those charges. I never should have hit him. Alana regarded her father-in-law coolly. No, you shouldn't have. But this goes far beyond yesterday's fight, Roberto. This is about decades of control and manipulation, of using Gabriella's death to keep Cesar under your thumb. Roberto flinched at his daughter's name. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, Alana interrupted. I found Cesar's journal. I know how you covered up the accident, how you made him feel that he was responsible for his sister's death, how you used his guilt to control every aspect of his life, including his marriage to me. Isabella gasped. Alana, that's enough. No, it's not nearly enough, Alana continued, years of frustration finally finding voice. You two have ruled César's life with fear and guilt. You've broken him in ways I'm only beginning to understand, and I won't allow it anymore. Roberto's face darkened. You won't allow it? Who do you think you are? I'm his wife, Alana said firmly, and whether we stay married or not, I will not stand by and watch you destroy what's left of him. Dominic had approached quietly, standing supportively at Alana's side. Roberto glanced at him, then back at Alana, his expression hardening. So the rumors are true, he sneered. You're leaving my son for this contractor. My personal life is none of your concern, Alana replied evenly, and Dominic is here as my friend, nothing more. Before Roberto could respond, a nurse hurried into the waiting area. Mrs. Belmonte, your husband is out of surgery. The doctor would like to speak with you. Alana followed the nurse, leaving the elder Belmontes and Dominic in uncomfortable silence. Dr. Carvalho met her outside the recovery room, his expression grave. We've stopped the bleeding, he said without preamble, but your husband lost a lot of blood. The next 24 hours will be critical. Can I see him? Alana asked. The doctor nodded. Briefly, he's still unconscious from the anesthesia. César looked smaller somehow, pale against the white hospital sheets, machines beeping around him. Alana approached the bed carefully, taking his limp hand in hers. You can't die, César, she whispered. Not now. Not when I'm finally understanding who you are. Not when we have so much left unsaid. She thought of the contents of the safe, the bracelet, the letter, the journal entries documenting his solitary grief for their daughter. Whatever his flaws, whatever his failures, César had loved their child, had loved her in his broken way. I found the safe, she told his unconscious form. I know about our daughter now. I know you held her, that you named her Gabriela. Her voice broke. I wish you had told me. I wish you had let me hold her too. Let me say goodbye. We could have grieved together, César. We could have healed together. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she continued. Instead, we've spent 13 years locked in separate prisons of silence. You, drowning in guilt over a loss you couldn't prevent. Me, wondering why my husband couldn't love me. She squeezed his hand, willing him to feel her presence. I'm angry with you, César. So angry for the choices you made, for the truths you kept from me. But I understand now. I understand why you built those walls, why you kept your distance. You thought you were protecting me when you were really protecting yourself. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Belmonte? I'm sorry, but the doctor says that's enough for now. Your husband needs rest. Alana nodded, gently placing César's hand back on the bed. Before leaving, she leaned down and pressed a soft kiss to his forehead. The first real kiss she had given him in years. Come back to me, César, she whispered. Whatever happens next, whatever we decide, just come back. In the waiting room, Alana found Dominic alone, Roberto and Isabella having apparently left. How is he? Dominic asked, genuine concern in his voice. Critical but stable, she replied, sinking into a chair beside him. The next 24 hours will tell. Dominic took her hand, his touch warm and reassuring. You don't have to go through this alone, Lana. I'm here for you. She looked at him, this good, solid man who had loved her steadily for so many years, who had never lied to her, never kept secrets. I found something in César's safe, she said quietly. Letters, journals, about our daughter. Dominic's eyes widened. So it was true. She nodded. César was going to tell me about the pregnancy, but then I lost the baby before he had the chance. The doctors advised him to wait until I was stronger before telling me the full truth, and he never found the courage. I'm so sorry, Lana, Dominic said, squeezing her hand. He named her Gabriela, after his sister. Alana's voice broke. He held her, Dom. He said goodbye to her while I was unconscious. He grieved for her alone all these years. Understanding dawned in Dominic's eyes. And now you're reconsidering the divorce. It wasn't a question, but Alana answered anyway. I don't know. Everything's so confused now. I was so certain this morning, and now you see another side of him, Dominic finished for her. The side that loved your child, that grieved her loss. Yes, Alana met his gaze directly. Does that make me fickle? Weak? Dominic shook his head. It makes you human, Lana. It makes you compassionate. He sighed deeply. I won't pretend I'm not disappointed. I hoped we might have a chance. Dom, no, let me finish, he said gently. I've loved you for most of my life, Alana Mendez. But I want you to be happy, truly happy. If there's a chance that Caesar can be the man you need, the man who deserves you, then you should explore that. Tears filled Alana's eyes at his selflessness. You're a good man, Dominic Jackson. Good enough to know when to step back, he said with a sad smile. Caesar is fighting for his life in there. And I think maybe you're still fighting for your marriage, whether you realize it or not. Before Alana could respond, Dr. Carvalho appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Belmonte? Your husband is awake. He's asking for you. Dominic stood. Go. He needs you now. Alana rose, then impulsively hugged Dominic tightly. Thank you, she whispered, for everything. Be happy, Lana, he replied softly. That's all I've ever wanted for you. With one last look at the man who had always been her friend, who had offered her a different path, Alana turned and followed the doctor back to Caesar's room. Caesar was indeed awake, his eyes clear despite the pain medication. He looked surprised to see her. You came back, he said weakly. Alana moved to his bedside. Of course I came back. After what I kept from you, after Gabriella. His voice broke on their daughter's name. I found the safe, she said quietly. I read your letter, your journal. I saw the bracelet. Shame and relief mingled in Caesar's expression. I'm so sorry, Alana. I should have told you. I should have let you grieve with me. Yes, you should have. Alana didn't soften the truth. That wasn't your decision to make, Caesar. She was my daughter too. I know, he whispered. I was a coward. I thought I was protecting you, but I was really protecting myself. From your pain, from your blame. I wouldn't have blamed you, Alana said softly. These things happen. No one could have prevented it. Like Gabriella, my sister. The question held decades of guilt and self-loathing. Alana took his hand, holding it firmly. Yes, like your sister. You were 15, Caesar, a child yourself. It was an accident, a terrible, tragic accident, not a sin requiring lifelong penance. Tears slipped down Caesar's bruised face. I don't know how to live without the guilt. It's been my companion for so long. Maybe it's time to find out, Alana suggested. Maybe it's time to let both Gabriellas rest in peace. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of shared grief between them. Your text said you were filing the divorce papers, Caesar finally said. Have you? Alana shook her head. No, not yet. Hope flickered in his eyes. And now? Now I don't know, she admitted. So much has happened, Caesar. So many revelations, so many secrets revealed. Too many secrets, he agreed quietly. Too many walls between us. Yes, Caesar shifted slightly, wincing at the pain. I want to ask you to stay, to give us another chance. But I have no right, no claim on you after 15 years of failing you. Alana studied his face, the face of the man she had married, the father of the child they had lost, a man she was only now beginning to truly know. If I stayed, she said carefully, things would have to be different, completely different. No more secrets, no more silence, no more separate bedrooms and locked doors. Yes, he agreed immediately. Whatever you want, however you want it to be. And your parents, Alana continued, they can't control our lives anymore. They can't use guilt to manipulate you, can't threaten me or my friends. Caesar's expression hardened with newfound resolve. They won't. I'm done living under their shadow, done being the scared 15-year-old boy they want me to be. And therapy, Alana added. Real therapy, not just for you, but for us. Together. Yes, he agreed again. Anything, everything. Alana took a deep breath. I'm not making any promises, Caesar. 15 years of damage can't be fixed overnight. We would be starting from scratch, building something new from the ruins. That's all I ask, he said softly. A chance to try. To be the man you deserved from the beginning. A nurse appeared in the doorway. I'm sorry, Mrs. Belmonte, but the doctor says that's enough for now. Your husband needs to rest. Alana nodded, standing to leave. At the door, she turned back. One more thing, Caesar. Anything, he said, his eyes never leaving hers. I want to see her, Alana said firmly. Our daughter. I want to know where she's buried. I want to say goodbye properly. Tears filled Caesar's eyes. Of course. As soon as I'm out of here, I'll take you to her, I promise. Alana nodded, a sense of peace settling over her for the first time in weeks. Not happiness, not yet. There was too much grief to process, too much healing needed for that. But peace, at least. The peace of truth, finally spoken, of secrets, finally revealed. 3 weeks later, Alana stood beside Caesar in the small private cemetery where the Belmontes had buried generations of their family. His physical wounds were healing, the bruises faded, the stitches removed. His emotional wounds would take longer, as would hers. Together they looked down at a small granite marker, simply engraved, Gabriela Mendez Belmonte, beloved daughter, held for a moment, loved for a lifetime. Cesar had arranged for the new marker, replacing the plain stone that had previously marked their daughter's resting place. Alana knelt, placing a small bouquet of white roses beside it. "Hello, Gabriela," she said softly. "I'm your mama. I'm sorry it took me so long to come see you." Cesar knelt beside her, his movement still stiff from his healing ribs. He placed the tiny silver bracelet beside the flowers. "She would have been beautiful," he said. "Like you." Alana nodded, tears streaming freely down her face. "She would have had your eyes, I think, dark and thoughtful. And your strength," Cesar added. "Your courage." They stayed there for a long time, sharing memories of the child they had never known, imagining the life she might have had. It was painful, but healing too, the first grief they had truly shared. As they walked back to the car, Cesar's hand found Alana's, tentative but hopeful. She didn't pull away. "The therapist called," she said. "Our first joint session is scheduled for next week." Cesar nodded. "I'm nervous," he admitted. "Talking about everything, but I'm ready." "Me too," Alana agreed. The past month had been a whirlwind of change. Roberto had dropped the assault charges against Cesar after a tense family meeting in which Cesar had finally stood up to his father, threatening to reveal decades of questionable business practices if Roberto didn't back down. The elder Belmonte had retreated, his power over his son finally broken. Cesar had moved back into the penthouse, but to the guest room, a mutual decision to give themselves space as they rebuilt their relationship from the ground up. Each night they really talked about their day, their feelings, their hopes for the future, small steps toward intimacy, toward trust. "I saw Dominic yesterday," Alana said as they drove back toward the city. "His project in Rocinha is almost finished. The first families move in next month." Cesar glanced at her, his expression carefully neutral. "How is he?" "Good," she replied honestly. "He's seeing someone, a teacher who's going to run the community center. She seems nice." Relief flickered across Cesar's face. "I'm glad. He deserves to be happy." "Yes, he does," Alana agreed. She had made her choice, to try again with Cesar, to build something real from the ashes of their paper marriage. Dominic had accepted her decision with grace, had wished her well. Their friendship would survive, though changed. As they approached the penthouse, Cesar turned to her. "I have something to show you." Curious, Alana followed him inside and to his studio, formerly his bedroom, now transformed into a bright space filled with canvases and art supplies. In the center stood an easel covered with a cloth. "I've been working on this since I came home from the hospital," he said, nervous energy radiating from him. "It's different from my other paintings of you." He removed the cloth, revealing a stunning portrait. But unlike his previous works, which had shown Alana alone, this one showed them together, sitting side by side on a bench, looking not at each other but forward, toward the viewer. Between them, an empty space just large enough for a small child. The symbolism was clear: their past, their loss, their possible future. "It's beautiful, Cesar," Alana whispered, deeply moved. "I call it After Almost," he said quietly. "After almost losing you, after almost losing myself, after almost giving up." Alana studied the painting, seeing in it all they had been through, all they might yet become. The space between them, the child they had lost, would always be there, but it no longer separated them. Instead, it connected them through shared grief, shared memory. "It's perfect," she said, turning to him. For the first time in 15 years, she reached for him without hesitation, without fear of rejection. And for the first time, he didn't pull away. As Cesar's arms encircled her, Alana felt something unfamiliar yet welcome. Hope, not for the perfect marriage she had once dreamed of, but for something real, something built on truth rather than illusion, on shared pain rather than silent suffering. They were starting over, after almost losing everything, after almost giving up, after almost failing to find each other across 15 years of silence. "I love you, Alana," Cesar whispered against her hair, the first time he had ever said those words aloud. "I always have, I know," she replied softly. "I'm beginning to understand just how much." It wasn't a declaration of love in return, not yet. That would come with time, with trust rebuilt day by day, but it was a beginning, a real beginning, after 15 years of almost, and for now, that was enough. The end.